Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, February 16th, and we are tracking a pretty high impact storm that's going to be moving through much of the country today and tomorrow. And boy, is it going to bring a kitchen sink of weather hazards. We're talking heavy snow, ice, and even a severe weather threat. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start out with what things look like right now. So what we're looking at right now is radar across the U.S. And you can see that there's already areas of snow breaking out there, especially in the mountains. Front Range, you're going to get probably up to 8 inches of snow is what it looks like. This looks kind of messy. This system hasn't really organized just yet. What you're going to see is a surface low developing later in the day into tomorrow. And what's going to happen is it develops and then it's going to kind of track to the north and east, and that might not be the best drawing of that, but you get the drift. So we're going to see a pretty powerful cold front. We're going to see that surface low developing, and things are going to look more organized on this map. This is about to get going. You're really going to start to notice some big changes into tonight and especially into tomorrow. So let's go ahead and talk about the timing and what things are going to look like on radar. We are taking a look at the North American model, and this is what radar could look like about 10 o'clock Central Time. That's above my head. We're going to start to see some showers breaking out by about 10 o'clock tonight, and these are messy. They're really not that impressive here, in Central Texas, East Texas. However, this is the area you're going to want to watch because you're going to see it head to the east. And what we're going to see is a lot more action happening as we move forward into the overnight and into tomorrow morning. So look at that. Yeah, you really start to see these storms breaking out as they head from, the panhandle of Texas east into Oklahoma. And then look what's happening on the backside of this system. So we're seeing really heavy snow breaking out in Oklahoma on the panhandle, north central, seeing ice, sleet, and then to the south and east, looking at potentially some severe thunderstorms. Now, these are going to be bringing some really heavy wind gusts with them. I think wind is going to be the main threat, but this could easily bring some spin-up tornadoes. Now, the atmosphere is going to be conducive for that. I don't think this is going to be some big tornado outbreak, but this could cause some damage at your house, so you need to be weather aware. So this is 3 a.m. Let's keep going. This is happening around that morning commute for a lot of folks. You can see that heavy snow on the back end of this. So as you look into areas around just north of Dallas up into Oklahoma, you're really going to be seeing a pretty powerful line of storms developing. And then things shift to eastern Oklahoma and to East Texas around 7 a.m. And then things are going to stay pretty active as we head east into your Thursday. So we're going to switch over to this view right here so we can get an idea of what's happening. And, a lot of this is looking kind of messy. That's a good thing because that could reduce some of that severe potential. However, there are going to be times when we could see maybe some clearing, some warmer air moving in, and that could enhance any storms that we do see. So this is 8 a.m. We're going to go forward a little bit stormy in Arkansas, into Tennessee, Kentucky even, getting heavy rain. So if you look at 1 o'clock, notice that we've got storms breaking out. And if I had to make a guess, I would say this area right here is going to have the biggest threat for severe storms and possibly tornadoes because that's going to be peak heating hours. The atmosphere is going to be juicy, and we're going to have that chance for, a few storms to really kind of get out on their own in the afternoon and, take advantage of whatever energy there is. Now, as you head a little further north, it looks a little messier in Tennessee, but we are still looking at a slight risk all over Tennessee for severe weather. I think it's going to be mainly wind damage and possibly a few spin-up tornadoes. But I think, into Mississippi, even into Alabama, you folks are going to have the better chance to see tornadoes just because you're closer to that warm air in the Gulf. And also, it just looks like you're going to have maybe a little bit more heating during the day because you get some more breaks in that rain and that shower and storm activity. You can see things get pretty linear on the back end of this. There's that cold front rolling through. It's going to get really windy and noticeably cooler. And then things start to get a little less active in terms of that line of storms, and that severe threat will start to fall as the system heads to the east. But pretty interesting, right? Let's take a closer look at why we're concerned about the possibility of severe weather. All right, guys, we are looking at wind at 850 millibars. Now, this is above your head, but this is what we look at to really understand the dynamics of a system. And when you have really high wind speeds above your head like this, a lot of times those can translate down, and they can also enhance shear. So when it comes to severe weather, especially tornadoes, you kind of want a combination of moisture, instability from heating, but also shear. That's the wind turning as you head upwards. It could also be a thing called speed shear, where the winds get higher the further up you go. When you look at this, you got some shear because those winds are really rocking as you go further up in the atmosphere. So some of those winds can translate down to the surface, and it doesn't matter if wind is turning, rotating, or if it's straight, it can cause damage to your home. So that's one of the reasons why we are concerned about severe weather. And you can see that this extends all the way through the southeast into Tennessee as we head into Thursday. Look at that. That's Thursday morning, and you can see things are just really rocking in this area in terms of that jet. And I probably should not use red there to circle that. Let's see, maybe yellow will show up better. There we go. So this is why we have those slight risks, or a good reason, one of the reasons why. This isn't going to be necessarily a historic severe weather outbreak, but there's a pretty good chance that we're going to see severe weather, especially winds and also some tornadoes. There is a tornado threat with this, and that's why we've been taking it really seriously. This is noon on Thursday, and you can see Louisiana up into Mississippi, Arkansas. You've got some cape. It's not super impressive, but it is there, especially closer to the Gulf Coast. You see that cold front rolls through, and that's going to zap a lot of that energy. However, there's still enough to potentially get things going. So we're going to look at something called a significant tornado parameter. And this takes a look at a lot of different factors and kind of combines them together to give you an idea of whether or not you could see tornadoes. They're elevated in some spots, but this isn't super duper impressive. However, I still think that we could get some tornadoes with this system, and certainly some gusty winds. So it's enough to be concerned. I don't think it's going to be a huge outbreak of anything. However, just one tornado, it doesn't even have to be, an F5 or something. Any tornado can kill somebody. It can cause horrible damage to your home. We want you to stay safe. So make sure you are weather aware. So now we're going to take a look at the winter side of this system. And there's a whole smorgasbord of winter weather that we can expect. Heavy snow, ice, sleet, and we're going to see some really gusty winds with this as well. So you're going to see blowing snow. That can cause some issues. Now, the front range, you're getting quite a bit of snow 8 o'clock tonight, and it really is getting heavy at times. And then you see it breaking out early Thursday morning into Kansas, into the panhandles of Texas, Oklahoma. And you can see that really heavy snow just continues on. Now, in that nice salmon color, that's sleet, but that purple is ice. So, ice is not something we like to deal with. It can cause a lot of damage. That is easily the most destructive sort of wintry weather. Now, I'm switching this over into the Ohio Valley, so you can see this kind of starting up there in Michigan. We're starting to see some snow. Chicago, going to be an interesting forecast for you because you're looking at kind of being right on the line. You're looking at that heavy snow drifting to the north and east by 11 o'clock tomorrow. So it's moving through Missouri. Missouri, you've got rain, possibly some thunderstorms to the south and east. Then you get a nice line of ice moving through. You get sleet and then heavy snow on the backside of this. Then it moves through Illinois. Now, NAM is showing that potential for heavy snow, mainly in Chicago up through Detroit. But this could, jog a little further to the southeast, to the northwest. We're going to be watching this carefully. There is going to be, some challenging forecast out there if you're right on the line. You can literally just go down the street a bit and somebody's getting a completely different precipitation type depending on the atmosphere. And basically, you got that stormy weather to the south and east, and you got that really heavy snow. Doesn't look like the northeast is going to see much other than rain, but some folks could get a little bit of ice, maybe even some sleet. And then you start to see this all turning off as we head later on into Friday morning. let's talk some totals. So we are taking a look right now at snow totals, and the first thing I want to point out is there's going to be a pretty narrow band of the heaviest snow. Up to 10 inches is what NAM is showing. I think that's a little aggressive, but those deep purples and pinks there, that's a lot of snow, but you can see it's really just going to depend on where you're at. You know, for example, Chicago, that's going to be a tough forecast. You might get a couple of inches, you might get a little more, depending on how this sets up. So that's just the NAM. Let's take a look at some other models. Here is Euro, and this is showing less snow. Looks like it's trying to really give a lot over in Canada. That's not unexpected. Maybe far north Maine, you can see quite a bit, but it's not as aggressive as NAM. Still showing a lot though. That deeper blue is up to about 6 inches, 7 inches. I think that's a little more realistic than what the NAM was throwing out. Let's take a look at good old GFS. So GFS is pretty similar to the NAM, showing a whole heck of a lot of snow from Kansas into northern Missouri, into Illinois, all the way up into, Michigan, showing up to about 10 inches of snow. That's a lot. And I keep scrolling down to make sure I'm reading that right. But yeah, that's quite a bit of snow. So, this system could be a pretty heavy snow producer. So that's 3 models. Let's take a look at what the National Weather Service is saying. So here is the National Weather Service's forecast, and it has an area there, a little skinny line of about 7-8 inches from Kansas up through Missouri into Illinois. We'll see what happens there. It's a little bit more conservative typically than what our models are going to produce. And I think this is a pretty good guideline. Now, let's take a look at freezing rain and ice. That is going to be a concern. Hopefully we see more sleet than freezing rain. We don't want either, but freezing rain can really cause power outages, some big issues. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the Weather Service thinks for freezing rain. So they're showing up to about 1/4 of an inch in some spots. So from Oklahoma up into Kansas, into Missouri, up into portions of Michigan, including Detroit, even some areas in the Northeast there, into New York, up into Maine, Vermont. You folks could see up to about 1/4 of an inch. I'd say that's a glaze to 1/4 of an inch. That's enough to really cause trouble, especially considering it's going to be very windy. The wind with ice, that's a bad combo. So I would be prepared, if you're in these winter weather areas, especially to maybe hunker down for a day or two. Make sure you have everything you need to get through that wintry weather and stay off the roads if you can. Let's take a look at what some of the other models are saying for ice. Now, NAM was really aggressive with that heavy snow and is a little more aggressive with the ice. So it's showing, up to about 1/2 inch, maybe more from central Missouri up into portions of central Illinois. That's a lot. Let's see what GFS and ECMWF or Euro are saying. So there's Euro, very similar actually with that ice totals. And then let's see what GFS has. A little bit more and a little bit greater of an extent when it comes to that ice. So I would say if you're in Kansas, maybe even online there in Oklahoma, certainly if you are in Missouri, up into Illinois, even into Ohio and Indiana, into Michigan, just be prepared for some ice. Even a glaze can cause travel issues. Anything more than that, 1/4 of an inch is really when things start to get kind of bad for power lines and trees. So those are the things you got to watch for with this system. Thank you so much for sticking with me today. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. And of course, as we see more weather on the way, I'll do some more updates. Stay well, my friends.